Currently only have 9 people on this live, so let's just wait until some more people join in. If you already want to ask me something, feel free. Otherwise, we got the welcome message from Ciao Bello. I also welcome you to this live. I think, especially now, it's always been, I mean, I've done the CelloChat only once before, which is very nice, but I think this one is a bit more special given the the current world situation, and a live is just actually such a great way to keep in touch with all of you, keep this thing going. So yeah, welcome. I'm in my room. Yeah, I've been in my room for a long time. Been in quarantine for about almost 3 weeks now, I think. It's a bit strange, but it's not that bad. You have a lot of time to do other things, read, watch a ton of Netflix. I like to paint, so I do that a lot. So yeah, okay. So the questions are rolling in. Daily warm-up routine. I knew this was going to come up. I explained this in a video I made with Pablo Ferrandez and Kian Soltani. My warm-up now is very, very simple. Basically start with the scale. And then you move up chromatically until you reach the other C. Sorry for the shakiness. I actually haven't played the cello in like 2 weeks, so I've been having this time a bit more for myself and a bit more away from the instrument. But basically that's my current warm-up routine. That's what I do now. That's what I've been doing for the last I don't know, 5 or 6 years. Yeah, okay, so another question. While practicing, how do you know when to move on with a particular piece of music? Can tell if I'm spending too much time trying to perfect the first movement of Cassadó or avoiding. Okay, that's a good question. I think when you set up specific goals for yourself before your practice, I think that's the best way for you to know whether you're spending your time in the right way or not. If you have problems you need to sort out in one movement, I would dedicate, maybe a few hours for that movement, but then move on to the next thing, because there comes a point where you're past that stage where you're actually making progress, and you can just be making things worse after a certain amount of time. Also make sure you don't get overly tired. It's dangerous to overdo a passage over and over and over again. That could lead to injuries. So yeah, I would, before you sit down to practice, I would think about what I want to accomplish today, what I want to learn, or what I want to perfect, or what I want to start reading, whatever it is. Just be clear about what you're going to do with your time on that specific day, and I think that should help you a lot. Okay, another bad habit of squeezing the sound out of the cello through downward pressure of the bow. It's causing a lot of tension in the left and right hands. How do you produce a relaxed bassline sound? I think I covered that on the last live, but I'll say it again. It's all about weight. There's, at least for me, there's very few times where I've actually felt like I need pressure, to put actual pressure on anything. You don't have to this is horrible, but when you put just weight, you just have to feel it from your arm, you know, going down all the way, giving the bow like that, you know. My room is doesn't have the best acoustics, but yeah, it's all about that. I mean, that's how I play on any stage, and it usually works, you know. There should never be a point where you're playing with, like, you know, where you can see like these muscles or tendons or whatever they are, when they get tense. You shouldn't do that, because I mean, in a concert there's so much going on. A key part of it is to distribute your energy in the best way you can. So yeah, just learn how to use your own weight, your own body weight. I think that helps a lot with your sound. That, you know, that goes for any type of sound. You know, how you manage the weight is gonna you know, provide you with all the tools you need to, you know, make a huge sound, or like the most beautiful, delicate sound you want. So yeah, don't tense up, just wait. What repertoire am I currently working on right now? Well, like I said, I have taken a little bit of a break. So I'm currently not learning anything. I have things you know, concerts I had to play, which have sadly been cancelled or postponed. But you know, I have to learn this Azul cello concerto by Golihov. I'm bringing back Ginastera cello concerto number 2, which I'm also supposed to play. Also Schnittke number 1. Yeah, number 1. Tons of like really cool repertoire, things that I've always wanted to learn, but you know, because of whatever competitions or whatever, like you usually don't have that time to just learn what you want to play. Often we get caught up in the whole composition circle, and we keep on playing, you know, the usual repertoire for about 6 or 7 years, which I find, you know, if you're doing competition is great, but it's also kind of, it drives you insane to always be playing Bach 6th Suite and Arpeggione Sonata and Beethoven number 3. Incredible pieces, of course, but if you have time, if you have the opportunity to delve into something new, I think you totally should. Also because it broadens what people hear in concerts, and I think that's always nice, you know, when you go to a concert. For example, I remember my first time hearing Prokofiev Symphony Concertante when I was like, I don't know, 11 or 10. I was very small. I didn't even know about the piece. Yes, it was not a new piece, but for me it was new, and it was like a whole amazing discovery. So I would encourage people to learn new things, play things that are not, you know, recorded too often, or yeah, just do it for yourself also. I think it's interesting. Okay. These days I'm practicing Piatti number 12. Your videos are so inspiring. Can you please give some tips for bow staccato? Okay, so that's a bit of a strange thing, because I think for me staccato is a technique that I haven't reached that point where I'm like, yes, like no problem. I think for me I'm still kind of, I have my few doubts still about this bow technique, but and I think I also addressed this in the last cello chat, but all I did was basically watch Heifetz in this famous Aura staccato video on YouTube. And I mean, there's some great shots of his hand there, and you can see what he's doing, or at least you can kind of imagine maybe how he's doing it. But like, just the angle that he uses, I remember, I don't know if you can see, yeah, like completely like almost ridiculously to this side, putting all your weight and then just kind of letting the bow go, which makes sense, you know. The more weight you put on this part of your hand, the easier it is for the bow to get stuck and get that nice staccato. Of course, I think it takes time for you to be able to do it like at ease or like whenever you want, because sometimes it just doesn't come. And it took me a while to figure out how it works. I think that's a more individual thing to figure out how you distribute your own weight towards this part of your hand, so that, you know, because we all are, we have different hands, we have different instruments, we have different bows, everything is different, so there's not a one set formula to do this. But I would say that this angle of the hand, like really pushing it this way, is what helped me kind of understand how the mechanics of it worked. That also works with down bow staccato, because for one you're pushing and for the one you're pulling. So it's the same with like smooth bow changes, how you need to push and pull the bow. Yeah, same thing for staccato. Okay, how can I produce a good sound in fast passages? Okay, make sure you find that sweet spot of the bow between the bridge and the fingerboard, and there's a specific spot where it works really well for fast passages, whether it's like legato or separate or spiccato or whatever it is. For legato passages, actually, for me it's easier to really try and get as slow as I can on the bridge, not like horrible kind of ponticello effect, but low enough that there's like this, I find there's this like resistance on the instrument, like when the sound is loud enough that it's that it projects, but it's not too loud that it starts to break. And that's both a combination between weight again and also bow placement. So that's for legato passage. For fast passages, I think it's a bit harder. I usually tend to, if it has to be a spiccato, then you would need the bow to bounce much more. Like normal would be like kind of nice and light, but I don't know if you can see. Maybe I'll go back. That's more towards the bridge, and it may sound scratchy to you, but it will project. For the people in the audience, it's just basically a more violent way of doing spiccato. Here you're just kind of letting the bow bounce, but here I'm putting much more weight, of course, that's obvious. I'm also doing the way I'm putting, how do I explain this? The way in which I apply the weight and how I distribute it is actually, most of it goes towards my, like this side of the hand. So like a little bit like the staccato thing, but more on the index. That way, when the bow, like if the second part of your, this is very hard to explain. Okay, so imagine your hand is divided, okay? This part of your hand, or maybe even like this part, these three fingers are kind of just there. They're just resting on the bow. What does most of the work for me is the thumb. It needs to be relaxed, of course, for it to bounce. So don't squish it. Just like play with a relaxed thumb, and put the weight on this upper part of your hand towards the index, especially towards the part where most of us have this callus, where it touches the bow. So if you add that weight, it will produce more sound, and because the other half of the hand is loose and relaxed, that's what lets the bow bounce. So that's kind of how I do like a loud spiccato. I think to play loud separate, it's just it doesn't require that much explanation. Just make sure you're in that, you find that spot in your instrument that it's a nice sound, like what I said before. And you know, if it's fast, obviously you don't have to overdo it. The least amount of bow you use, it's probably the best. More to do with weight rather than speed of the bow, or how much you use. All right. Could you demonstrate how to build muscle memory for intonation? Okay. I basically do that just with scales. That includes shifts, everything, because you need to know how to play a scale well. You know, in order for you to know where every note is. Also, chromatics are great. And if you want like actual shift exercises, or you know, I would assume that your question is directed more towards shifts. I do just the usual. That little grace note trick that most people know, because that, for me, that just helps me know like the block, you know, where I need to, like where my hand needs to be. Like, it's all about blocks for me. Like your hand, even I mean, okay, there's certain pieces that have that are not within this what I'm gonna say, but most of the time it works in blocks. You know, all these positions. Like if something's written for the cello, you need to make sure that it works. It can't just be completely random notes, because that's not within the geography of the instrument. So just make sure you're working towards with blocks, you know. There was a good passage on like Bach Sixth Suite that I'm sure you all know, and I'm probably not going to play very in tune right now, but this. So like. Make sure that everything within those blocks, that every interval is in tune with each other, and I don't think there's a certain way for you to like specifically develop muscle memory. I think it just comes from repetition. If you repeat consciously what you're playing, what you're trying to practice, and what you're trying to accomplish, that's just gonna like eventually find its way onto your brain. Of course, I don't mean don't go and like mindlessly repeat something for 3 hours. Don't do that. But when you think about it, and when you work it out slow, when you're thinking about every position, so first of all, is getting that octave in tune, and then it's the sixth. Don't stop trying until you hit that. You know, when double stops are completely in tune, they tend to produce this kind of buzzing sound. I'm sure a lot of you have noticed, and it's like the most satisfying thing ever, because then you for sure know, yes, this is completely in tune. So just spend as much time as you need figuring out where everything is. You know, it's what we get for not having frets, I guess, but you know, it's possible. So you just need to spend the time working out the block. Again, this word for me is very important. The every position, you know, everything that is within your reach there, you should work it out in intervals if you can, in double stops if you can. If not, just work it out slowly. Yeah, so I would say that, and the main thing is just working things slow. Yeah. Could you share tips on working on many pieces at the same time? Okay, that's a very good question. I was talking about this recently as well, and I don't know what this person in which situation, because it could be for an audition or just because you're preparing a recital program for your, I don't know, as an exam or something, I don't know, but maybe I will direct it more towards the competition side of things, which is, I think, maybe a bit more clear. As we all know, there's several rounds and stuff you have to get through, and it can be a bit overwhelming when you see a list of repertoire that is like 3-4 sonatas, 2 concertos, or 3 concertos, and a ton of Bach, ton of Piatti and stuff. That can be a little too much. So first of all, if you know that you have to prepare for something, that you have to play a lot, just make sure you do it with enough time. That's like the first thing you have to figure out. If you start too late, then good luck, so just make sure you start on time. Second thing would be to divide, of course, everything. You're not going to practice I don't mean the whole repertoire for a competition, that's insane, but even a whole round you can divide into several days. That's what I do when I used to do competitions, when I used to prepare for them, because I would much rather work on less things and be more proactive with them than sit down and go through a whole huge list of difficult repertoire, and kind of getting through it, but you get tired. You don't really know what you did, or if you did it well enough. You just kind of know that you played it through and maybe fixed up a couple things along the way, but that's not really that smart, in my opinion. So I would, like I said before in the beginning of this live, I would, before you sit down and get the cello out, figure out what you want to do. Like, just really figure it out, which pieces you want to work on, not just that, but what aspects of the piece you want to work on, and also how much time you have to practice. I understand that a lot of college students have also other subjects and stuff to get through, and assignments and stuff, so that can be also hard. But yeah, just distribute your time wisely, and you should know what you're going to work on before you even sit down to play. That way you're just more, again, proactive is basically the best word. So yeah. Saludos desde Bogota a Valencia. How do you improve your critical listening ability while practicing? I feel like I'm not hearing my playing very precisely when comparing, for example, to a recording. Okay, well, first of all, I don't think you should ever compare yourself to a recording, because it's not you playing, or maybe you're listening to an old recording of yours. I don't know what you mean by recording, if it's like a CD recording you're listening to get the piece in your ears, or if it's like a recording of you, if you've recorded yourself when you practice, which I think actually maybe it's a good thing. But okay, so being critical depends on many things, and it depends also on what you're trying to achieve. Again, guys, I think it's important to not want to achieve everything, absolutely everything that involves playing the cello on one practice session. There's so many aspects to play this instrument, technical aspects, also way more difficult things, which is like interpretation, all research, all that stuff, and that takes a lot of time. So I think when you narrow down the things you want to work on, if you want to be critical about intonation, I mean, that's very easy. You just have to put in the time and the effort to really fix everything and repeat slowly, and then kind of gradually getting faster. That's a kind of a no-brainer, I think, in my opinion. same goes for, like, let's say left hand articulation. Again, you have to just work slow. For articulation, you would need like to focus everything on how much weight you're putting into every finger of your of this hand. If it's left hand articulation, this it's a bit different, but I can't really answer precisely what you mean, because you just mentioned critical listening ability while practicing, and I think first you need to narrow it down to, you know, what you're being critical about. Again, could be anything. So I think the best thing for me to say to you would be to do that, narrow it down and spend the time, and then you're being critical, because then you, by the end of your practice session, you may feel like, okay, I wanted to fix this thing and I fixed it. Let's see if it's there tomorrow. But yeah, I think that's a more proactive way of looking at it, rather than to try and, you know, I'm not playing this so well, so how can I sound better? That involves many things. First, you need to figure out what it is that it's not working before you can even begin to fix things. So, yeah. Una pregunta, ¿para qué se hace? So, okay, sorry guys, this is in Spanish. ¿Para qué se hace el mano izquierda con el cuerda al aire? Yo creo que eso solo, más que todo, es como para dar la definición para empezar algo en la cuerda al aire, que a veces puede no ser tan claro, a veces como que chilla un poquito la cuerda. Yo creo que eso es a lo que tú te refieres, y por eso es que alguna gente hace eso, pero no sé qué otra razón hay para eso. What can you recommend about improving memorization skills? Okay, good. Memory, it's, yeah, tough thing, but you know what I like to do actually is I like to listen to the piece a lot when I'm learning anything. I think it works the same way as I mean, I listen to a ton of music on my free time, and I actually, a lot of the time I don't listen to classical music. You know, it's just a me thing. But when I have to prepare something, I find several different recordings, so that, you know, you're not biased with your favorite cellist or favorite, I don't know, orchestra or whatever. And just listen to the piece. Don't enjoy the recording, interpretation, whatever, but if you're trying to memorize, I think what helps is just to listen a lot, because, I mean, I'm sure all of you have gotten like a song stuck in your head and stuff. Of course, I don't know what music you listen to that is not classical, but if we're talking like, you know, whatever's on the Billboard lists or whatever, you know, that's easy to memorize because it's very simple. But it's, again, kind of the same principle. If you listen to it a lot, it will, you know, find its way into your brain. So that's what I like to do. I like to listen to a lot of different recordings of the piece I'm learning. You just have to spend the time on the piece, even when you're not practicing it. When you don't have the instrument with you, if you really are struggling with memory, I think that helps a lot. If you can, you know, whether you're going to your job or you're going to your class or whatever, you're just sitting at home with nothing to do, just play that, listen to that, and you know, that's what helps me also the most, apart from actually spending a lot of the time on the piece, you know, figuring out like fingerings and stuff. Sometimes I have this way of learning things by kind of like with specific fingerings, like, I don't know, it's something I do sometimes. It's kind of like, you know, when people are stressing out, they don't have enough time, and they put like a fingering for every note, so that they can learn it faster, or you know, it's kind of that same principle. But I don't mean write a fingering for each note, but when you really think about these things, it can also help. But again, memory, it's the way you process it is very individual, I think, and I can only speak for myself as to how I do it. So I hope that helped in a way. Okay, when you approach a new technical passage and you're practicing slowly, do you add musicality and bowings right away? What does you produce apart from just playing slowly? Yes, I think bowings are very important. So I would figure that out. If you don't like the bowings that are written on your score on your music, for sure, just make sure they make sense, you know. And if it's like original bowings, like original bowings that you know are original, I you know, I wouldn't change them if possible. You know, if they're not totally ridiculous, I would try to play them. But yeah, bowings are important, yes, of course. But I think, okay, if it's technical, again, I don't. It's a broad spectrum. Like could be this hand, could be this hand, could be both hands. If it's merely a left hand thing, I would start by only focusing on the notes, you know. If it's a right hand thing, I would just make sure that, you know, whether it's the type of bow technique that you want, bow stroke, I mean, just work on that, you know, before you play any notes, if you can, you know. So yeah, you would have to be a bit more specific about what you mean. If it's just a mere kind of finger twisting thing, I would try to play it slow with the bowings you have, unless you're playing it so slow that you cannot play the bowings you have, you know, if it's like a long legato and stuff, of course. I wouldn't focus at first too much on playing musical, because what you're trying to get across would be fixing that problem. And once it's fixed, you're free to indulge. Well, that's not a good word, but you're free to you know, be musical about it and worry about more important things. But I think you have to get that step out of the way to work through it. So yeah. Schmidt and his yes, they're incredible pieces, and I am very happy that people and orchestras are being more open, more about this side of the cello repertoire, which we often don't hear, and that we should hear more of. Okay, question, YouTube Live. Could you tell us more about your cello? How old is she? She. Okay, so she. I have no idea how old she is, because this cello has a very interesting story. I'm not sure if I've said it here, but I can tell it to you again. It was given to me by my previous teacher, Andres Diaz, and that was given to me back in 2011. We were doing this concert to celebrate a scholarship that had been given to me, which I still have. And you know, in the end of the concert, there was this kind of, oops, sorry, I got a call, with some people talking, and then my teacher came on stage. He wasn't my teacher back then, but I was already gonna start with him. He came on stage, and he was just like, well, my way of helping you out is by giving you a better instrument than what you had. So he just handed this to me on stage. So yeah, it has quite a special story, and it didn't used to look like this. Lots of people think it's an old cello because of how pretty it looks. I'm sure it's a new cello because it was built by Wayne Burak. I think he was based in Arlington, Texas. I'm not completely sure, but I think that's where he was based. Sorry, am I still there? Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I got a call and I got completely distracted. Yeah, so this cello from Wayne Burak, but it has gone under some changes. Varnish was changed, the tailpiece was changed, a lot of things were changed, and now this is what the cello looks like. It's beautiful. It's great to play, and that's what I've been playing on ever since. So yeah, I don't think I answered your question. I don't know how old it is, but it's not an old cello. Maybe, I don't know, it could be maybe 20 years, maybe a bit less. I have no clue. Which strings do you recommend? Well, I work with Tomastic, so the strings I play on that I love playing on are the new line of Rondeau solo. I'm not sure if they're out for sale now or not. I'm not sure. I started using them about maybe a bit less than a year ago. When they were just prototypes, I started using them. I was using Versum Solo before, which I also think are incredible strings. The full set Solo are also great strings. But yes, now I'm using this new line of Tomastic, which is the Rondeau Solo, and I think they're great. They complement my instrument incredibly, and they have that nice kind of duality of punchiness and like contact and projection, while also remaining very kind of warm and sweet and kind of velvety for, you know, those opportunities when you might want to use those colors. So yeah, that's the whole set I use, and I would recommend it a lot to all of you. Another question. I have some pain in my left hand during vibrato. Tips for relaxing the thumb or loosening vibrato. Okay, that's kind of hard. It's kind of hard for me to answer that. I'll try. All right. I don't know if the pain might be. Again, this you don't specify where the pain is coming from. If it's like down here, or if it's like on your fingertips, or if it's on your thumb, or like in this muscle here. I don't know, but I would recommend playing slow vibrato. Slow vibrato, I think it helps for you to like know and figure out the width of the vibrato that you want to use. And I think if you're having pain, that must be just because you're putting too much. You're squeezing too hard on the fingerboard, which actually is also counterproductive, because if you squeeze too hard, that restricts your hand from moving. So I know it's very easy to say just relax, but that's basically the gist of it, you know. That's why I say maybe it's worth it to work on it slowly, just so that you can really feel what a relaxed vibrato feels like, and then you can kind of work it up with speed, making sure you don't lose that feeling of being relaxed. But you know, I don't think I have enough information on the actual question to know where the pain comes from. I don't know if it's also like a pain that is persistent. You may want to maybe give it a rest for a couple of days, because it could be a bad habit, or it could maybe be an injury, which would be terrible. So yeah, I don't know. I guess if you're finding that happens way too often, then yeah, either a bad habit or an injury or both. So just work on it slowly. But if you're having way too much pain, I think it's important to just kind of leave it for a bit and get back to it, completely chilled out, which is what I had to do when I got a very mild case of tendonitis when I was about 14 or 15. Just bad habits of not warming up enough. And my kind of recovery was just that. Just whenever I started playing again, which was after maybe 3 or 4 days, you have to start slow, like really, really slow. Get that feeling back into your hand, And yeah, vibrato related, I would do the same, but just work on it slowly. You need to know what it feels on your hand before you play anything up to speed. You need to be like, okay, this is about the enough of movement of my finger. This is like, I like this. Then I just need to make it faster, basically. So you just kind of go in steps. I think that's a good way to work on it. Okay, hi, can you show me your thumb position in the bow? Do you recommend trying different thumb positions? How do you practice the octaves and Tchaikovsky? Last vocal variation to change the corner in your bow. Okay, thumb position in the bow. I mean, I don't think there's anything special about it. It's just like this, you know, in the little kind of staircase looking thing here in the frog. That's where I rest my thumb, and that's why I have this thing, this rubber, which actually I should change because it's looking a bit old. But yeah, most of the time it's like this, just so that you relax. You know, your thumb can move around freely. That's how I hold my bow. I don't know what you mean by recommending trying different thumb positions. Where in the bow, I don't think there are many. I think there's only like the one, you know, unless you're playing Baroque and you go here. But so one thing is that I was taught that you should never play with your thumb like this, kind of like curved, which makes sense, because that can make you more tense. But I actually find that, and I'm not recommending this to anyone, this is just totally individual. I'm not saying go ahead and do it, because it might not work for you, or it might create problems in your hand. So just to put it out there, sometimes I do use my thumb like this, just because of grip. Sometimes in concerts, you know, you get this becomes very sweaty and stuff, and it's just out of need that I feel like this I'm just gonna drop my bow because my hand is relaxed. So then I kind of turn the thumb from this to a bit like this, just so that I don't basically drop my bow. But that's kind of like a hack, I guess, in concerts. How do I practice the octaves in Tchaikovsky? Last rococo variation, slow. I mean, also what I said with this little Bach thing, you know, which actually with Tchaikovsky is easier because they're literally just octaves. So you need to work out, first of all, to play them, each one of them individually in tune, and then work out the shifts slowly. And I actually sometimes I would practice like this kind of advanced, I call it advanced technique. That's also what my first teacher used to call it, where you find in the fingerboard, so it starts here, you find the next, you're free to play it. See, so that was bad. Practicing like this, the aim is just to feel free to play before you actually play the actual octave, just for you to find the position. And you gradually, how it works is that you gradually would start to do it faster and faster, until this movement, finding the octave, becomes kind of almost kind of mechanical. You don't have to think so much about it. Again, that's to do with muscle memory. And yeah, then you shouldn't have any problems. It's a scary bit anyway to play live in a concert, but I think this helps a lot, not just with octaves, but with anything that you're having problems with, even like a fast passage that doesn't require that much shifting. I think it's important again to play kind of ahead in, you know, I don't know, I think that finds its way into your brain somehow when you're playing up to speed. And when you're practicing, it's good to think ahead, because you're learning to map everything out in the fingerboard, so that when you're on stage playing the concert, you don't have to think. I think mostly weight. I think that's what matters. Bow, like weight on the bow, and also bow speed, I think are the main things. The main tips for perfecting the 5th and 6th position. Okay. You guys are gonna get like sick of me saying the word block, but that's how it works. I think that's how it works on any position. You just have to work out the notes, all the notes in between that block, and then just keep on practicing until you've developed that memory, that you know where things go. And you can only do that if you practice it slowly. Doesn't matter which position. Some will be trickier than others, for sure, but it's basically the same point of view, I think. When I started cello, I had short hair. Okay, a hair question. Stopped playing and became a long-haired metal guitarist. I like that. Came back to cello years later and my hair gets wrapped around twin pegs. Do you have the problem as well? Well, if you've ever seen me play, I never play with my hair down as much as I would love to do that. I just do it in a bun. I just put it up in a bun. And I think that looks good. And it's also a great way to keep your hair off the pegs. If you wear a ponytail and your hair is really long, that might also get in the way. If you're one of these people that move a lot when they play, that could be a problem. So I think a bun is like the safest way for me to ensure that doesn't happen. Yeah, of course. I mean, it gets stuck all the time because it's so long. But yeah, just put it up in a bun and play like that. I think it's not worth it to stress over in a performance whether you're gonna be okay with your hair, rather than playing music the best you can. Some people, I don't know, I see some girls play when they're playing live, and some of them have their hair down, and I don't know how they do it. I don't know if they just don't feel when something gets stuck, and like that for me is just super distracting because it's also painful. So I wouldn't risk it. I don't know how they do it. Maybe it's just a ton of hairspray, I don't know, but I would just put it up in a bun and that's it. Okay, hi Santiago. In your last CelloChat and video with Kian Soltani and Pablo Ferrandez, you mentioned a scale book. Yes, the famous scale book from my teacher. It is sadly not available for purchase, as far as I know. That's something he did for his students as a project of his he had. He was always very interested in figuring out the most efficient way to play the cello, and the most to get everyone to really feel as comfortable as you're here, also like up here. So he developed this whole book, tons of different scales, tons of different speed exercises, double stops, shifts, anything you can imagine. But sadly, it's nothing that ever went commercial. So I can't answer that question for you, I'm afraid. It's not, you don't really, as far as I know, you can't buy it. I don't know, maybe I'll ask him next time if he's published it, but I don't think he has. So I'm sorry. Any tips for arpeggione first movement? Be careful with swelling of the notes. I think that comes, like so many people. It's a very bad habit that we have all been there. Like, we have to be honest about it. We have all been there at one point. There, when I was first learning the piece. Yeah, I think bow swells are terrible, but especially there, it's easy to get carried away with that. But especially since it has to be such a like an need to carry the long phrases. I think are important, especially in that first movement. That's like the first tip that comes to mind. Don't do bow swells, but any other technical things you would have to be more specific, because that's such a hard piece to play. I could talk here for hours and hours, and I don't actually know how long I've spent already talking and how long I have left. So yeah. Can you get some tips in Eclair Sonata? I'm sorry, I haven't played that piece, so I wouldn't feel comfortable giving you advice on something I haven't played. But do you? It should sound too bright. I don't understand that. I'm sorry. What music has been bringing you comfort during this period of home isolation? That's a good question. It's a very good question. I have been listening to a ton of different things, not classical music, apart from a bit of Arvo Pärt here and there. But yeah, I don't know. I just keep on listening to the albums I love, and you know, it's not like the most relaxing music ever. It's, in fact, some of them are pretty rough sounding, but it's things I enjoy listening to, and they make me feel good because I like listening to them. But yeah, but if you want like something within the classical world, I would say listen to Arvo Pärt. I love all his choral stuff, is incredible. That's what I listen to the most. Some solo piano pieces as well. He's definitely one of my favorite composers. So yeah. Do you find you have to practice brighter than your ear wants? Does that take some getting used to for your ear? Okay. I don't think so. At least I don't do it. I don't know if this is good advice or not, but I'm just gonna tell you what I do. I usually like to play the room that I'm in. So, for example, in my room here is small. It's not. It doesn't have any reverb or anything. It's very dry. So I play what sounds good in this room. And when I'm on a stage that is like 1,000, 2,000 people, then you play for, you know, that space. I think I don't. At least for me, I don't find it necessary to practice something like brighter than what your ear wants to hear. I don't find it necessary, so I don't do it. But I don't know if I should advise you to do it or not, because I don't know if what you're trying to work on is like sound projection or not. But I like playing the room I'm in, and I like it when things sound good where I am. So yeah, I guess actually when I was just saying this, I was thinking to myself that applies, of course, to most spaces, but definitely not for a concert hall. Because if you want to be heard, you should I guess you should play more. But I think that's a given, you know. If you feel like the orchestra is drowning you out, or the piano is drowning you out, you know, apart from also being able to ask them to play a bit less, you can play more, of course, but you should never go up to the point where you feel like you're forcing everything out. I know sometimes what you play, for it to be heard, you know, in a bigger hall, might not sound as nice to your ears, but you know, there's limits within that. You know, I've heard people play incredibly, you know, when I'm sitting up close, and for me that was great. And you know, then you get some friends or someone that was sitting in the back who couldn't hear anything at all, and then you get people that, you know, when you sit too close, you hear a little scratches and stuff, but they're not bothersome because they kind of go with what's going on in the music, so that also doesn't bother you, and all people at the back can hear it well. But then you have the odd situation where you have someone that is just playing incredibly rough, and that's just not enjoyable. You know, like even if you're playing a you know, an incredibly intense piece of music, Shostakovich for example, of course a lot of it shouldn't be pretty, but I think there's a limit, you know, like if you're gonna just scratch your whole way through a concerto, then you know you have to find the balance between projecting properly and, you know, just overdoing stuff and you know, losing energy, because that's not actually gonna make you sound more, or it doesn't gonna make you sound better. That's just gonna make everything really muddy and kind of ugly. So yeah. Which part of your arm should you bow from for fast passages? Oh, okay, that's a very good question. It's gotten me thinking also. Right, I think it depends on bow stroke. I think it relates also to what I was saying before. You know, weight and stuff. If it's fast though, and if it's like, if it's fast, I think most of it depends on your wrist, I would say. When you have to play fast, I think you have to be as efficient as you can, and also to not lose energy. So making sure you're playing with your wrist really helps. Rather than, I mean, I see some people sometimes playing with almost their whole arm, like going completely crazy, and that's not good. I think a good example maybe would be this Elfentanz by Popper, because if you've played a piece, you know how tiring it is to get through to the end, and you know most people will kind of slow down or become their staccato will become more muddy by the end. But and I think that this is just what I'm talking about: saving your energy and using your hand in a way that is effective. So the wrist is a great idea. Just to use yours, like if you can see here, I'm not really using much of my arm at all, and I'm not really straining my wrist or anything. I'm just kind of letting it do its thing. Yeah, so I would say a wrist is a very important part of your arm, especially for many things, but for playing fast and, you know, not get tired. Do you have any tips for maintaining big pieces while starting your repertoire? Yeah, but I mean, I don't know if it's that much of a. I don't think it's gonna be anything too like revealing for you. I think just if you have to keep practicing it, maybe don't practice the whole piece, but just practice one movement each day and alternate each day between movements while you're learning your new piece. So, you know, you don't if you've learned the Dvorak concerto and it's there, and you have to learn something else new, you don't have to play the whole thing through on the same day. I would say that you can just maybe practice the first movement for one day, and then do your other rep, and then the other day maybe work on only the second movement, and, you know, just learn how to distribute your time. You can also like do several kind of sessions throughout the day, because you know it's at least I don't think it's healthy to practice for like 8 hours straight. You know, just, you know, you sit down, you're in your room for 8 hours practicing, playing along, maybe taking like 5-minute breaks and then going on. But for me, that's actually still too intense for my taste. So I would maybe do like a section of, a chunk of like 2 hours, which you can distribute any way you want. Then have a break for like, I don't know, half an hour or 45 minutes. Then get back to it another 2 hours or another hour. I think that keeps a nice balance between being focused enough to work on what you have to do, and also allowing yourself to breathe. You know, like you need also that time where, okay, I've done this, like I don't feel like I'm thinking too well right now, I'm gonna take a break, 30 minutes. So yeah, I would advise that. All right. How would you say your Tomastic rondo strings compared to Yargars? Your chat competition videos sound amazing. Thank you. Yes. Well, I actually cannot be very. I can't really say from experience because I've never played on Yargars. I don't think ever. Throughout, when I started and up until now, I've only really I used Larsen back in the day, and now I'm with Tomastic. So those are really the only two that I've used and that I've tried really. Yeah, sorry, I've never played really on Yargars, so I couldn't be of much help. But thank you for your very nice comment. Hi Santiago, could you please give a detailed demonstration of Henryk Zarzycki's scale system? I don't think that's possible because, like I said, that whole book takes like 2 hours to get through. And yeah, to answer the last part of your question, sadly you cannot buy it because I don't think he ever published it. But to give you a very brief overview, okay, so we had when you open up the book, you have major and minor scales, and every book is divided by a key, tonality. So yeah, the C major book, basically, you have 17 different fingerings for that C major scale, and they start with the most basic, open string scales. I think, yeah, I don't remember how many octaves there were. I think maybe 4 octave scales. Yeah, so it starts with very, very basic fingering, and as you go along, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, the fingerings start getting a little bit more complex. So, by the time you reach scale number 17 of C major, you're basically playing all the way up till here-ish on the C string, and then just crossing over. So it's a great way for you to know every position on any string on anywhere, so that you don't have any doubt when you play, which is great, and I think it developed my technique greatly doing this book. After after that, you have the same thing for minor scale, harmonic minor and melodic minor. Then you had arpeggios, like I think 3 or 4 octave arpeggios each on every string, like without any crossings. All sorts of different like modes. I can't remember how many there were. There were loads. After that, you had speed exercises. I don't remember them too well, actually, because it's been a long time since I did that book. But it was a little bit like this Cosman. Something kind of like within that approach. Then you had double stops, scales and double stops. So you would do thirds, you would do fourths, which were really challenging. There's no fifths, of course, but there would be sixths, octaves, and tenths even. Though that was very hard to play. So I think he included them for some of the books, but then he kind of got rid of them. I don't know. Some of them were just not possible. That's basically how it worked, and it basically took like 2 hours to get through it. Okay, so I have a question here in Spanish. I'm sorry, I'm gonna reply in Spanish. El concurso para conectar el sonido a otro con arco, ejemplo del cuarto de cordero. A cuerda suelta de sol. Ok, yo creo que eso tiene que ver con este principio de empujar y de jalar, y hacerlo antes de que tengas que cambiar la nota. Entonces, por ejemplo, estás empujando, y acá tienes como que cambiar la mano, y acá empieza a jalar. es como el movimiento anticipado de hacer esto y luego de cambiar la mano y hacer esto. ¿Sí me entiendes? Básicamente es eso. Yo creo que ese es el mejor tip para poder hacer que notas separadas suenen lo más cercana posible a un ligado y que no haya como esa pausa que te molesta. Entonces sí, básicamente es este movimiento. Sí, empujar y anticipar y jalar con la muñeca. Como que haces esa dirección. Okay. Okay, another question in Spanish. Quiero saber en qué te enfocas manejar el arco, qué dedo mantiene tu atención y qué ejercicios para mejorar la altura en el brazo del arco, la muñeca y los dedos. Hola Javier, de ejercicios no sé cuáles recomendarte porque ejercicios de la mano derecha realmente yo no hice muchos. Al manejar el arco, en lo que yo más me enfoco es en como en la libertad de todo el brazo y la muñeca también. En eso y también en como uno distribuye el peso. Yo creo que nunca hay que forzar el sonido. Sí, es como lo que dije al principio de esta charla. No es forzar, sino que es tocar con peso. Cuando tú tocas con peso es lo más natural, o sea, no hay presión innecesaria, no hay dolores, no hay cansancio innecesario, obvio sí lo hay, pero no hay tanto, y es y también que produce la mejor calidad de sonido que hay. Entonces hay que primero aprender a usar bien el peso en la mano y distribuirlo bien para la hora que quieras tocar. Y sí, básicamente los dedos que yo tengo como más activos, digámoslo así, serían el pulgar y el índice. Realmente estos tres, pues obvio, uno los necesita, pero los dedos que hacen la mayoría del trabajo serían estos dos, ya sea para golpes de arco, también para distribuir el peso, como lo dije antes con lo del staccato, que todo el peso tiene que estar por acá. También spiccato ayuda si el peso está por acá, y estos están un poquito más livianos para tener como el peso acá y la ligereza de este lado. Entonces el arco puede rebotar, pero con proyección. Entonces si yo me enfoco en el índice y en el pulgar, y que estén relajados, porque si empiezas a tocar con mucha presión, no vas a tener esa libertad que es necesaria para tocar cualquier cosa. Okay, so this is another question in Spanish, but I can answer in English, I think. So someone's asking about a passage of a concerto that has made me think, like, man, this is gonna take a long time. Yeah, there's I'm sure there's a lot of those. Lately, the only one that I can remember was in this Schnittke concerto. Several different parts in the first movement, and yeah, it's just insane. I mean, it's some really random notes that, you know, it just makes it really hard for you to, like, think about blocks, like I've been saying all this time, because they're just some of them are completely random. And I mean, it sounds, you know, the music is incredible, but it's really tough to play because it doesn't really make that much sense with how the instrument works, you know. I think those passages would be better maybe on a piano or something, I don't know. But yeah, you should listen to this first Schnittke concerto, the first movement. Actually, you should listen to both concertos, they're great pieces, but the one I'm talking about is the first movement. Crazy. Also in the near the end of that movement, there's this whole passage of what were they? I think ninths. Like, imagine when you're playing a whole passage that is in octaves, but you're playing it in ninths, and those intervals are people usually don't practice that stuff, so it's completely new territory. And it's funny because when you're meant to play a ninth, you you end up playing octaves, which is you wish it was not like that. Like when you want to play octaves, you should be able to play the octaves instead of playing a ninth by mistake. But yeah, crazy writing, but also crazy good piece. So yeah, lots in there for you guys to have fun listening. Okay, do I have a practice program? 1 hour practice, 15-minute break. Yes. Okay. Like I said before, I don't have like a set. Like I'm gonna practice for 1 hour and I'm gonna take a break for 15 minutes or half an hour. I don't do that. I just do it like I work as within my plan. I know what I want to work on, and once I achieve that, whatever it is, I take a break. Sometimes it takes like an hour and a half. Sometimes it takes 2 hours, 2 hours and a half. So I would be almost 3 hours sitting down figuring things out. But if it starts getting too much, and if you start getting like really kind of burnt out, like your brain is being fried or something, then that's a good indication for you to take a break, because you're not going to do that great of a job if you keep working like this. So I keep it more kind of less strict, and I just take breaks whenever I want to take a break, whenever I feel like I need to take a break. Yeah, so that's how I do it. For me, what is musically the difference between brightness and darkness? Okay, I don't know. That's very individual. Brightness in what sense, and darkness in what sense? There's so many shades of bright and so many shades of dark. It's kind of hard to pinpoint. I guess when you're playing something that feels like bright, like it feels actually like literal light, like you're lighting up the whole with your sound, with this music that you're playing. It's all to do with how you feel, like if you're not feeling the darkness or the lightness, at least that's the best way I can put it. It's not gonna come across. Of course, we all know kind of like what it means for, how can I explain? So that melody in the Beethoven variations is for sure not bright, so I think that's very obvious. But what I meant more with my comment was that it's not enough to just kind of play it, with a nice kind of light sound and kind of with the sad cello phase. You have to feel it. You have to feel things when you play. I think that's the most important for me. If you're not, then you're just kind of, you're just playing along some music, and maybe it's in tune, maybe it sounds nice, but if it doesn't say anything, what is the point, So I don't know, you could start a whole debate on interpretation, on musicality. I'm just trying to answer and address this question, which I found a little bit vague, with the best input that I can give you. But as far as difference from brightness and darkness goes, I think that's pretty obvious. If you want to take it literally, you know when something's light, when something's dark. It's up to you how to show that to the audience, and how to use the technique that you have to kind of create that world of colors and sound in order to portray those moods or feelings. Yeah. ¿Alguna recomendación de micrófono para usarlo tanto en eventos como en estudio de grabación? Ok, bueno, yo uso realmente un micrófono muy simple. Es un Shure MV88, es un micrófono específicamente para Apple, para iPhone, iPad, lo que sea, porque solo tiene el conector Lightning. Pero es súper, porque es diminuto, es súper portátil. Yo he hecho algunas grabaciones para mi canal de YouTube con ese micrófono y va súper bien. O sea, obviamente no es un micrófono de calidad de estudio. Ya cosas tan específicas para un estándar tan alto de grabación, creo que yo no soy la persona para preguntar. Pero si quieres algo que es como portátil, que te va a servir para grabar con buena calidad de sonido, yo diría que el Shure MV88 es una buena opción. I'm going to translate this question because maybe it's interesting for any of you to know if you care. Someone was asking me about a good recommendation for a microphone to be used, like, you know, in recordings and stuff. I don't know that much about recording equipment. I'm actually, that's something I like, but that's something I'm very new at, so I don't know that whole bunch. But what I was saying is that the microphone that I carry with me most of the time would be this tiny Shure MV88, which is made specifically for Apple devices. But I think it's really good quality for such a small mic that you can just literally put like in the pocket of your jacket or in a backpack or take it anywhere. It's super easy to use. And some of my, of course not the very professional recordings of my YouTube channel, but you know, I have this recording of the whole Bach third suite, which I recorded entirely with just that tiny little microphone. And you know, it's not like insane audio quality, but it's actually very good, much better than recording just with your phone. So that would be a nice little kind of upgrade if you want. Okay, what is your weight for solid vibrato in very high positions? I think making sure that you're not pressing too hard, because then the sound kind of dies out if you put too much pressure. But if you're putting more weight in your hand, I think that kind of frees up a lot of the sound, and it actually makes it sound louder. And solid vibrato for high positions, I mean, it depends which kind of vibrato you want, because you could be playing something completely delicate, and there's a ton of colors that you could pick from there. You know, like there's the barely there kind of eerie vibrato, or the like super kind of intense but intimate, like tight vibrato, like kind of like a Misha Maisky-esque vibrato, which you know, kind of like that. It depends what you want it for, or if it's like very loud. I find that for loud passages that are kind of more intense and you know, more kind of slow and dragging, I would use actually a slower vibrato most of the time. Depends, of course, but most of the time I would do it because I don't know, it pairs well with a like a long phrase. I can't think of any example right now, but or if it's something very fast, of course I would resort to using faster vibrato. Yeah, but that's totally up to you, I think. Do I prefer the okay, I could never say this name. Fierce tailpiece, tonal tailpiece by Kenneth Kuo. I had both. I like both. I think either are a very good option. It depends what you're looking for. If you want to, I can't remember how much the Kuo one was, but I think that's rather pricey. So if you're looking to spend that much, and also, I mean, I think it's nice that they're custom made. So if you like that, if you want to try it, I think they're great. I had one for quite a long time, and it worked really well on my instrument. Everything sounded very nice. It let it breathe a lot. So yeah, also the frieze is very good, and that's like last when I got it, it was like 350. So that's much less than the Kuo. So it depends on what you prefer. Also had really good results with that one. And the one I have now is actually, I prefer it to both of them, and it's one that was custom made for me also. I prefer it because it's all wood, you know. For example, the Kuo one is carbon fiber. The frieze, I don't know, it's some kind of alloy. I'm not sure what it is exactly, but this is all wood, and I don't know. It adds this really nice tone. It adds this really nice tone to my own tone, if you can say that. The wood just makes things a bit darker, a bit more kind of velvety, a bit less bright for sure. But this one doesn't compromise on sound because it's also very light, and actually it doesn't have any metal in it. You know, even these little things here for the tune. I don't use fine tuners, but you know, these black things that are usually made out of metal are also made with wood, with, I don't know, I guess it's ebony, I'm not sure. And yeah, super light, makes a beautiful sound. The maker's name is Alessandro Alberi. He's a maker from here, from Colombia, and he's the person that looks after my instrument. He's the person that has done all the work on my cello since I got it, basically. And yeah, he also made one of my bows. So yeah, you can find him on Instagram. You can see his work. He's really a great guy, and he really knows his stuff. So yeah, maybe after all of this is over, he works sometimes in like he does trips to the States for some, I think, some music related events, some violin making events, I don't know, and you can find them in the States sometimes. So I would send them a message if you're interested. Okay. What do you do when you can't motivate yourself to practice? I've been stuck in a loop of not getting myself up to practice. Yeah, that's a good question, and it's I can especially relate to it now. You know, it's nice for me, like I said in the beginning of this video, I haven't really practiced for about 2 weeks or something, which is very rare for me. But you know, all my concerts for this month and the next were postponed or cancelled, so you know, I took it as kind of like a little breather. But I think it's important to make sure that you don't lose the drive to, you know, to want to play. You know, I'm definitely getting more sensitive about these things now, because you can really feel it now. You know, I suddenly have the things I have to prepare for are, you know, kind of very far away, and I'm more used to a year where, you know, it's like, okay, I have this next month, practicing it, okay, you do the concert, then okay, on to next thing for next month. So when your schedule is kind of changed so drastically, it can be hard. But I think it's good to, if you don't have any motivation, I think it's good to leave it for a little bit, and kind of I would try and distract myself with other things that you may enjoy doing, which is what I've been doing. You know, I've been playing guitar a lot. I've been writing some music. I've been painting a lot, and these things kind of, you know, take away that feeling that you may have, like, oh, I don't want to practice, I don't feel like doing it, and eventually you will start missing it. So yeah, I would say kind of take a little breather, yeah, and then just try and get back to it slowly. I mean, you don't have to practice for 4 hours, 5 hours every day. You can take it up again, like take your cello out and play for, like, I don't know, 15 minutes, if that's all you want to do for that day. and then maybe you want to play for half an hour next day, and then next day maybe an hour. So just take it easy, and yeah, don't. I wouldn't really stress too much about it. Yeah. Saludos a Medellín desde Bogotá, un abrazo. ¿Cuál es tu top de 3 mejores cellistas de la actualidad? Creo que el mundo está lleno de músicos muy buenos y es realmente difícil encontrar o poder decir como estos son los 3 top de ahora. No podría decir eso. Hay gente que le gusta a tal persona y a esa persona no le gusta al otro, o sea, hay personas, hay músicos para todos los gustos. Entonces yo creo que no es como objetivo de mí decir estas 3 personas son top, o sea, lo más top de la actualidad, mi opinión. Do I play any traditional Colombian music on my cello? Like dancing salsa. Well, salsa is not from Colombia. So, as far as I know, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I used to play some traditional Colombian music from, with my family. When I was really young, when I was like 8 or 9 years old. It was fun. It was a fun thing to do with the family. It's also nice to play the music from your country. I don't know. It's nice to know about your history and your heritage. There's also some very beautiful classical music composers that come from Colombia. Some of which many of them didn't really write much for cello. But I've made arrangements here and there of pieces that I like. Some pieces, some are piano pieces, some are guitar pieces, and it's really beautiful music. So, yeah, I play music from Colombia. I also like commissioning things, and there's been one concerto that I premiered last year was written for me by composer Jorge Pinzon, who was also my theory teacher when I was very, very, very young. So that's like contemporary Colombian music, which I enjoy a lot. I think it's important to if you know composers, and if you're interested, I think it's well, no, let me change that. I think you should be interested to kind of play these works and let them be known, for sure. So yeah, commissioning stuff is also fun. Yeah, so to answer your question, yes, I play Colombian music, whether it's traditional or not, but yeah. You're a beginner and you need help with your bow hold. Okay, so actually maybe I'm not the best person to ask because my bow hold is sometimes kind of criticized and stuff. It's not your usual. You're basically taught to play kind of like this, with this kind of angle in your hand. This is what's kind of textbook correct, which is fine. It works. It didn't work that well for me for everything, so I changed it, and my normal bow hold now is kind of like this, kind of more towards the opposite side of things. But since you're a beginner, you should probably learn the basic bow hold, which is this. Also, make sure your thumb, like I said earlier, your thumb shouldn't be like this, squeezing, but it should be relaxed like this. If you can see. So not like this, but like this, because this will prevent some, unwanted tension and injuries and stuff. And yeah, try and keep your bow straight in relation to your fingerboard and the bridge, in order to produce a good sound. I think that's the most kind of basic approach I can give you. And good luck. Okay, could you give us some advice about relaxed left hand while you play fast? Um, hmm. That's interesting. That's an interesting question. I've never really thought about that. I think like when people want to play with good articulation on their left hand, they may mistake like this with not with like weight or like kind of pinching the string, but more with like tension again. Like the people will tend to squeeze too hard on the fingerboard, and I guess that's what creates problems. But for me, if you want to play fast, of course, you need to be articulated, and for that, I find that really helpful when you kind of put enough weight into your every finger of your left hand, but also when you are done with that finger, you kind of pinch that note away. So there it's more clean than just like there I'm just literally just like squeezing, and that is actually preventing me from moving my fingers freely. So I wouldn't squeeze, but I would put just weight on each finger. So and it's I think maybe this is a good way to work on it. Just to play stuff stuff like this. You need to, of course, develop I don't know if it's your muscles or something, but you need to develop some strength. You need strength in your left hand also, and I think this is kind of the best way to do it. To just kind of leave the bow away and just maybe do this kind of every day. I mean, it could be a chromatic scale, could be a normal scale, could be just those 4 notes. Just as long as you hear it very clearly, and you're not squeezing. You know, it's I don't know how many guitar people are here, but it's kind of like a hammer-on, if you know what that is. So I would work on that, and that gives you articulation and the freedom to play fast without getting tension. How do I organize my practice time? I've discussed this before in this live. I don't know how much time we have left, but to do it really quickly, before you sit down, I make a kind of a mental plan of what I want to get done throughout the day. So I might go in saying like, okay, I want to get through the first one of Schnittke concerto or Elgar concerto or whatever, or Arpeggione sonata, whatever. First movement. I want to work on intonation. I want to work on this and this and this spots that I know like I have problems with. You know, basically organize your practice like this, so that you're not wasting time, and also it's just more productive in every way than just, you know, you sit down and then you start like mindlessly playing scales, and then you start playing your repertoire, and then you've been sitting there for like 4 hours, 5 hours, or whatever it is, and then you're like, okay, I'm done. I practice 5 hours a day like people say you should, and now I'm free to do whatever else. I think that's a total mistake. It's like being on autopilot, and I think when you practice, it's really the time to analyze your own playing and what needs fixing and how you can fix it. So, you know, if you feel like you're practicing on autopilot, I think it's better to just kind of put the cello away for that one day, you know, clear your mind and come back to it next day, or if you want to come back to it in a few hours, is also fine. But yeah, just make sure you have a plan of what you want to work on. I think that's how I do my practice, my daily practice, and that's how it's worked for me. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree, but I think it makes sense. So I would suggest doing that. Yeah. Muchas gracias. how do you work on the descending scales in... Okay, so how do I work on the descending scales, the descending octave scales with trills in Dvorak? Yeah, that's a tricky passage. Okay, so first of all, it depends on what you do, because some people like to do the trill on the A string, and some people do what's written, which is on the D string. That's what I do, and I am aware that it's not as, doesn't project as much, and a lot of the times it just sounds like you're playing out of tune, because it's such a dark kind of sound there. I'm not gonna attempt it now because I haven't practiced it in a long time, but I would practice first just the octaves, like forget about the trill, just play the octaves in tune, go. Every time you land wrong, like I did, you just need to make sure you fix as soon as you're wrong, you need to fix it right away. Find the position that you're meant to be on, and just work your way down like that, and repeat, play it gradually faster. I think also it helps for me that I do the trills on the D string, to just play that without the top note. So it's just nice to kind of break things apart, and I break like how it works. For example, when I used to play piano, I would learn one hand first and then the other hand, and I'm not saying that I'm a pianist. I actually I quit. I wasn't very good for the piano, but I think the principle is good. To break things apart, you can't just start playing every note, and just because you're doing it slowly then it should work. I think especially with something so tricky to get in tune like that, you need to find ways to break it apart and work on the little segments until you put it up together. It's like a puzzle basically. You need to sort out the pieces first and then you put it together. So I would advise you to do that first. Maybe you start just with the octaves on their own, without the trill, or just with the note with the trill, whether you do it on the A string or D string. But so I would try and do it like that. Okay. I've been working on... Sorry, this is kind of lagging a little bit. Working my thumb position for a few months now. Do you have any exercises to help me get more comfortable with it? Working on thumb position for a few months. Okay, so that's a good question. I don't know what your level is on the cello, so I don't want to suggest something that maybe is too easy or too hard for you, but something that helped me get comfortable with thumb position was actually popper number 33, and that's one that's one that is it has its fame of being super hard and all that, but you don't have to. I mean, you can just take it up as a challenge, whether you're there on your cello playing. If you're doing already popper exercises, maybe you can have maybe a brief look at that one. I mean, it's basically great because it all of it is basically just octaves and blocks, and that helps a lot with thumb position, whether it's like up here or whatever. It just, yeah, it's like an all-around thumb workout. So if you're interested in it, you can have a look. But yeah, I don't. It's hard to suggest something when you don't know the where the people where the person is, with their instrument at the moment. So yeah. Yes, I have gear pegs on my cello, which is why I don't use fine tuners. They make life much easier, and yeah, I don't like normal pegs. I don't know how people are still using them, but that's just me. I mean, if you like your normal pegs, if you like your fine tuners, that's fine. I just find that it's nicer, apart from it being easier to tune your cello. It's also nicer that you don't have all this like metal clunky stuff on the bottom making, sucking up so much sound because of all the weight that each fine tuner has. So yeah, I would totally recommend gear pegs. Just make sure you find the right ones, because there's some that are not that great. I don't want to name any companies or anything, because that's just not my place, but yeah, make sure you buy the correct ones. I would of course suggest these, but I have no idea what these are, because they came with the cello and they look nothing like the ones you can get online. As last time I checked, all these other ones you can get online are different than these. These you don't have to push out to tune. You can just just twist it and it tunes, and it stays there. You don't have to push it out and then push it back in. So yeah, I wish I had the name of these, because they're great. So I'm sorry. I'm currently playing the third movement of the Haydn C major concerto. Do you have any tips on how to play it so that I can get a clean sound while playing fast? Okay, so I think the main thing there is to keep your wrist light and to not get tense. It's easy to get tense with all those notes that are written there, especially because of how fast it is. But if you keep relaxed wrist, I think that's gonna help you a ton. Either for the sorry, you can't really see it. So you have to have that kind of freedom in your wrist for you to not get tired. If you play all those passages with your whole arm, you're gonna go crazy and you're probably gonna get an injury also. So I would work a lot on that. I would focus a lot on, apart from playing it in tune and practicing slow and all the things you probably already know, being light on the wrist is crucial, I think, especially on that piece. Which is my preference between wood bow or carbon fiber bow? I've never owned a carbon fiber bow, so that I guess that gives me away. That I prefer wooden bows. I've tried a couple of carbon fiber bows. I think they're fine. I'm not trying to be snobby or anything. I think the wood just feels better and somehow sounds better to my ears, but I think that's very individual. Some people also like carbon fiber cellos. I've never tried one, but I've tried carbon fiber bows. They're fine. I think they're completely fine. You can play well enough with one. But if you're in a position where you can maybe get a nice, like a nicer bow that's made out of actual wood, maybe made by an actual bow maker, or if you can purchase one that is like an older bow, I mean, it's all relative. It has to, also the bow has to fit you. But I would say if you can invest in a good bow, I would probably go for one that is maybe not carbon fiber, but that's just my own opinion. Yeah. What? They're not for sale. Luthiers go free, so nobody can have it. They get just test strings. Kind of weird. What's not for sale? I don't understand. Are you talking about what are you talking about? Are you talking about the tailpiece or strings, or I don't know. I'm a bit confused. ¿Cómo me preparo psicológicamente para los conciertos? En un concierto yo creo que es importante no... Cuando yo estoy tocando, bueno, cuando empiezo a tocar, yo trato de no pensar en nada. Yo creo que lo mejor para mí es cuando estoy en un concierto es como es meterse en la música. Puede que suene un poquito cliché, pero creo que tiene mucha verdad, porque si no sale a tocar y no está preocupado por un millón de cosas, de afinación, de claridad, de memoria, de todo, yo creo que eso se va a notar en el concierto. Y un concierto no es para que la gente vea como wow, ok, mira cómo se memorizó toda esa obra, o cómo toca de afinado, o cómo toca de limpio. Esas son cosas que añaden a la experiencia. Obviamente una buena técnica pues está súper bien, pero yo creo que es importante que cuando uno está tocando un concierto uno cree con esa conexión con el público. Eso es lo que la gente va a un concierto para sentir, o al menos yo voy a un concierto para eso. O sea, yo no voy para ver qué tan bueno es tal chelista o tal violinista o no sé qué, sino que yo voy para ver qué tiene que decir esa persona en el escenario. Entonces sí, obviamente pues es algo difícil. Bueno, es fácil decir solo metes en la música y ya, olvídate de todo. O sea, eso es, sí, eso es el principio, pero eso es difícil porque para hacer eso uno tiene que estar muy seguro en todo lo demás, y eso pues todo viene con meses de trabajo antes en lo que es afinación, memoria, todo eso se trabaja antes para que ya cuando llegue al concierto sea la experiencia del concierto y ya. Wait, can you recommend a practice method for Prokofiev Symphony Concertante second movement? Okay, I am glad someone asked this. I don't know how well I can play it right now. I play a very odd fingering for that part. I don't like it when people play this, or what, I don't know what they play, but it just sounds really not clear. So I like to do is, and then with thumb on the D string, and it's not the most comfortable position, but and also with the bow is not, because you have the change of the thumb. So I change the bowing around, so it's like yeah, so that's the fingering I use. I think it's hard, but it sounds much cleaner than this muddy thing here on the G string. And practice, I mean, I think just practicing slow, that's really all it is. ¿Alguna vez he quedado en blanco en un concierto? Realmente no, menos mal. Sería horrible completamente. Pues hay cosas de memoria que uno tiene como, uy, rayos, como una cosita acá que se me olvidó, no sé qué. Eso pasa, pero pues uno está bien para seguir. Pero completamente en blanco, no, menos mal que no. Sí. Gracias por estar pendiente del live. Un abrazo. How do you take the bow in Shostakovich fourth movement cello? How do I take the bow? I don't know what you mean. Like which part of the fourth movement? If you're still watching, let me know with more detail what you mean by taking the bow. How did I learn to play staccato? What I said about the wrist being free, that was like the main thing for me. And that's probably what your teacher probably tells you if you've asked them about it. I think it's impossible to have a good staccato if you don't have a free wrist. yeah, I mean, also you have to it's mostly a light, elegant bow stroke. So I think it's nice when you have this combination of it being light and airy, but also kind of it has enough crisp for it to be defined. And yeah, what makes my bow basically bounce the way it does is that I keep my wrist completely free. Some people, I don't know, it's very individual, I guess. People have different ways of doing it, but I try to put my main focus on this, to be as relaxed as possible. Basically, you just kind of drop the hand. The hand is just the bow. So yeah, I would say keep a light wrist. That's the most important thing. If you don't have a light wrist, then your bow is not gonna bounce, basically. What do I use rubber on my bow? Just out of comfort. I think feels nicer. Also on your thumb, this part here, people often get like this horrible calluses, and it's I mean, I don't know. I just don't want to deal with any of that. So I put this rubber on it, and there's many people that use it. I think even Jacqueline Dupre used to use something like this. You can see in some pictures, I think. It's just nice. Also, it's great for when you're playing and when you're sweating, and if your hand gets sweaty, this kind of absorbs that so that your hand doesn't like slip. Because if you're the very few times in my life where I've played with a bow without this rubber, I've been so worried all the time that I'm gonna drop the bow, because I don't want to grab the bow. You know, the bow. I think your bow hands should always be relaxed, and mine is always relaxed. And you know, if there's too much sweat and stuff going on, it's probably gonna go down. So yeah, I just use it out of comfort. Yeah. Okay, so someone's asking about a teacher of mine that has changed my life, and I like to think that all of my teachers have this special place in I guess my journey as a cellist. I've been with them for very different periods of my life, and you know, I appreciate them all. I would have to say that maybe my first teacher, his name is Henryk Zarzycki, the Polish teacher who came up with this method of scales and all that stuff. I would say that maybe the relationship with him is slightly more kind of familiar, because he was kind of like a musical grandfather to me in a way. This is kind of grandfather figure for me, and you know, I think it's important when you're growing up. I started taking lessons with him since I was like 5 or 6, if I remember correctly. I don't have the numbers completely clear, but I think for a child that age is also important that of course, first of all, music never felt like something I had to do. It was always my choice, and also my parents were also very clear on that you know, it's, if you want to do it, we'll support you. If you don't want to do it, we'll also support you with whatever you want to do, you know, like if you ever get tired of this thing, you know, don't feel like don't feel any pressure. And you know, they were telling me this because I mean, in my family we're all musicians, so I guess it's like the, I don't know, equivalent of a family that is all lawyers, and they want you to become a lawyer when you grow up because it's the tradition, and if you don't, then you know, it's this bad thing, you know. So my parents were always very careful with that, and they always made sure that it wasn't ever you know, like you have to do this. It was always my choice, and it was great. And also for him, for my teacher, he was also always very interested in all the other things that I used to like. I mean, I still like anyway, like painting specifically. I remember after every lesson, you know, my mom would come with me to all my lessons, and after the lesson they would, you know, sit down, have some tea and stuff, and talk for like maybe 15-20 minutes. And as they were talking about the lesson and all these things, he would always have like paper and like pens and pencils and colors and all these things for me to like, just like draw and stuff while they were talking whatever. I wasn't never listening to them, but yeah, so I think that the fact that he took up this interest on all these other things about me that were not the cello was very special. So yeah. Any favorite concerto that I like outside the standard repertoire? Yes, there's many concertos that I like the ones I was mentioning before, the Ginastera. I love both concertos. I love both Schnittke concertos. I like a lot this Azul by Golihov. Yeah, there's tons of stuff that it's not played very often, and of course I like all the standard stuff, but yeah, I try to play things that are not so standard if it's possible. Yeah. Saludos. What is the best tailpiece in my opinion? I already addressed this, guys. I think it depends on what you're... First of all, it depends on your budget, because one is much more expensive than the other. The Frizz is like $350. The Cool, I think it's about $1,000, if I'm not mistaken. They're both really good. You have, you know, I don't think the Frizz is made like custom made. I think you just buy it and you just put it on your cello. I think the cool thing about the Cool is that it's custom made, so you can, you know, you send him your measurements and he will make it specifically for your own instrument, which I think it's great. I like anything that is custom made, because it's, especially with your cello, because there's no other instrument that is alike. So I like this kind of sense of working closely with the person that makes them, or with the company that makes all these things, and for them to make you something that is specifically tailored to your needs and to your instrument's needs. Yeah, so I've used both. I like both a lot. I think they're both great. I'm using this one now that is also custom made by Alessandro Alberi here in Bogota in Colombia. And I like this one also a lot because what I said, you know, these other tailpieces have a really good response, incredible sound, which is great. Sometimes I found them to be a little bright for my taste, and that was like the only downside. I mean, but that's very individual. Some people really like bright sounds, and that's great. I like having more kind of freedom, I guess. So when I tried this one that's made out of some wood that I don't even know what it is, it had like that balance, that really good balance of sound, like really big sound, projecting sound, but also it was not as bright. So it had this kind of woody, of course, quality to it, which made the sounds a bit darker, a bit more kind of velvety, a bit warmer, more kind of organic, in my own opinion. And also because it doesn't have any fine tuners, and it doesn't even have any pieces that are made of metal at all. That just makes the whole tailpiece super light, and the response is great for every string. So yeah. ¿Cómo estudiarlo? Sorry. Dobles cuerdas, okay. Creo que es importante también ir en bloques. No, realmente, o sea, es como lo esencial. Todos son bloques, entonces hay que trabajar cada uno individualmente, afinarlo individualmente y ir así, lento, lograr cada posición, que cada doble cuerda esté afinada, bien afinada. Ya cuando estés contento como suena, a la que sigue. Y lo mismo, a la que sigue, a la que sigue, a la que sigue, a la que sigue. Muy lento, trabajar muy lento. Cuando uno va a empezar con esto, y ya es gradualmente que uno va adquiriendo la velocidad. Entonces sí, esa es la mejor manera, yo creo que, de trabajar cualquier pasaje técnico, no solamente ese en específico. Hola Alejandro, gracias por el saludo, un saludo desde Bogotá. Wow, okay, lots of people that I had no, okay. All right. Do the rings in your left hand disturb you sometimes for the high position passages? No, they don't. I think the rings have been questioned a long time, and I don't use them for added weight. I don't use them for anything that has to do with cello playing. I just use them because I think they look cool. I like them a lot. I like wearing rings, and I'm not gonna stop wearing them because you're probably not supposed to wear rings on your left hand. I think if you wanna, of course, I had to get used to it. So if you like wearing rings, and if you want to make the effort of getting used to playing with rings on, it's totally doable. I did it. It was horrible when I started, but then I got used to it, and it's fine. So yeah, it's up to you. But they don't really bother me at all for anything. Okay, yeah, about the scales with the different fingerings. Okay, so basically, I'm just gonna explain again, just in case you were not watching back then when I was talking about it. The method consisted on 17 scales. I don't know if that was like a magical number or if it's just the way it is, but there were 17 scales that were both, major and minor keys, modes. I mean, and the first one starts with the most basic fingerings, which is your open string, 4 octaves. As you move along, number 2 will have maybe one more note in the C string, and then number 3 will maybe have 2 more notes in the C string, and like that. So also on the G string and on the D string. So what the system is doing is that it's gradually your hand is always moving up and touching up on places in the fingerboard that are not so often, you don't really play so much on your G string here, or on your C string here, or on your D string here. So what that did, it was just it was forcing you to play in all these uncomfortable positions, just so that you would first of all develop strength, but that you would also develop a sense of security anywhere on the fingerboard, which makes sense. And of course, you're never going to want to play a whole scale C major or whatever other tonality you probably have to hear, just because they're nicer sounding alternatives. But it's good that you have the option of doing so if you choose to, just because you're completely secure about where things are in the fingerboard, and you also have developed the strength it takes for you to play here, because for here, to play here is very, very tough in your hand, unless you have ridiculously low strings. But even then, it's just not comfortable, and also to make a good sound is difficult. So the whole method is just preparing you for, probably giving you more skills than you probably need, but that is still very good to have in your arsenal. Yeah. Hola, Manuela. How much time I'm playing? I don't know. I don't know how much time, but I started when I was 4. I'm 24, so 20 years. Yeah, long time. On my old YouTube videos, I said I would try to play all Paganini Caprices. Okay, I don't remember saying that. Maybe I did. I don't know. Maybe I was overambitious as a much younger person, but I have I think 2 editions of the Caprices. This is by Luigi Silva, and also some other edition that was gifted to me in China. I don't know who made those arrangements because I can't read any of the things that are written in it. Funny enough, though, this Chinese edition comes with a piano accompaniment for all of them. I wouldn't say that, you know, tackling all 24 Caprices is my top priority right now. You know, even the Silva transcription, which is probably the most famous one, I changed things around because I just didn't think it was so true to the actual piece, or maybe there were better alternatives on working things out, you know, playing things somewhere else. So yeah, I think it's an ambitious project, one that I'm not really looking at the moment. Maybe in the future, who knows. Now I think I'm more interested in like newer music and lesser known works, and you know, just playing whatever I want to play live, so, or record. So yeah, but Paganini Caprice is not in my radar right now. I think that was the thing I used to do when I was younger, also for, you know, you're playing all these show pieces when you're younger, and they're good to learn. I'm not saying that every Caprice is a showpiece, but a lot of them are. But they're also really good for your technique. So I was playing them also to acquire skills that I had to, you know, that I didn't have, or maybe improve on some others that I had to improve on. So yeah. How much? Yeah, I already said I've been playing for 20 years ish. Okay, I've recently been focusing on fine-tuning my intonation, and have realized that not all B's, for example, are the same frequency every time. It's the string you're playing. If so, what determines it? Okay, so I think if you're gonna think about every note being in tune with, like, in regards to maybe like an open string, or with a certain scale, or with a certain interval, you're gonna go absolutely crazy. I think the way I think about it is that you should just play in tune with whatever you have. So if you're playing in a chamber group, just play in tune with, everyone should play in tune with each other, not with what is technically a really in tune B with regards of like an open string or something. Just play, you know, in tune with whatever you have around you, because that's what matters, I think. If you play with an orchestra, yeah, I mean, you have to tune to the orchestra, because, you know, they're not gonna tune to you. There's so many musicians behind you, so you have to, you know, adjust. I think you should always just be on the lookout, listening, and just adjust as you go along. I guess it's a bit easier when you're playing solo, because you tune your instrument to whatever A you want, and you go from there. But if you're playing with more people, I think it's very important to adjust to the situation. So I wouldn't really worry about fine-tuning like you are. Yeah. Hi, Santiago, thanks for doing this. Have always admired your way of controlling the bow. Thank you. What methods would you use to build up specific strength for something like Piatti 12? I think the way I build up strength with this is just to practice it every day. I don't go by methods on those things a lot of the time. Especially, you know, with strength in regards of, you know, maybe the Piatti 12th Caprice, or if you're playing Elfentans, and that's also very tiring. I think you, as you practice it along, if you practice it smart, of course, if you shouldn't get injured ever, but I think you will start to build up stamina. I don't know much about weights or exercises, but I guess if you want to start doing weights, you start slow and then you build up strength. So I think that's kind of the same with developing this kind of stamina for pieces like this. So just don't start like full speed. Just start slow with the bow with the bow stroke that you want, or with the any piece that you want, and then just kind of work up faster and faster and faster. And I think your body will just develop the strength it needs to get through the piece. But the main thing is that you should never be tense. So, you know, whatever you're doing, whatever you're working on, just make sure that the top priority is that you're not getting tense, because especially in these pieces that are hard to get through physically, if you start getting tense, you're just gonna lose it, you know. So yeah, make sure you're relaxed. That's like the key thing. Any advice on the harmonics in the second movement of the Cassadó solo suites? Not really. I think they're just, I don't know. I don't know if it's more of an interpretation kind of question, like how you should play them. If that's what you mean, I think, you know, the second movement it's very folky, dance-like. So and it, to me, it just sounds like some kind of flute. So you should kind of try and replicate that sound with your bow and with the weight. So you know, I think you should have this kind of again, a very non-classical sound. I don't know if some people play this way too careful, like I'm trying to be overly musical, and I think that takes away from the movement, which is actually very much folk related. So all the kind of classical music tendencies are probably not going to go down well on that. So I would steer clear from that, and I would play very light, kind of mimicking a flute basically. So yeah, if that's what you mean, that's my musical advice, I guess. Muchas gracias por sus palabras, y bueno, mucho ánimo para el futuro. I've also never played for elegy. I know the piece, but I've never played it. I guess with the fast stuff, you know, you just have to, like what I said, I don't know how long ago, but you just have to build up for any fast passage. You have to build up this strength in your left hand, and not just strength, but articulation. So you could work that out playing even without the bow. I don't know if you can hear it, but basically like a left hand pits workout for your left hand. I think it helps a lot with articulation and will help with any fast passage you may have. Yeah. So last comment, yeah. ¿Algún ejercicio para la práctica en las posiciones del pulgar? Ok, Gabriel. Popper 33. Popper 33 es el ejercicio mejor, yo creo, para practicar lo que es la posición de pulgar. O sea, tú ahí usas el pulgar en todos lados, acá. Creo que es el mejor ejercicio que uno puede hacer. Obviamente depende de cuál sea tu nivel, siendo un chelista, no sé, tal vez todavía será algo muy, muy avanzado, no sé. Pero es un buen ejercicio para ver, inclusive si lo puedes de pronto mirar muy lento. Todo va en bloques de octavas, todos son más o menos como arpegios, arriba y abajo. Entonces eso también desarrolla mucho la fuerza del pulgar. Okay, I have another one. What do I think about breathing while playing, like in greater intensity of music or in longer term? Did you? Okay, so breathing, of course, I think it's essential for your playing. If you, you know, I think music will kind of sound lifeless if you don't have like this kind of, how can I explain? Okay, so when you breathe, it's like as if you were singing. You cannot start singing without taking a breath. So you know, if you start like, for example, this, you know, if you just start that like, you know, that's just not gonna say anything. You need like that, like, to develop the tone. So the breathing that you have translates into your playing. I mean, I'm sure you know this. And you know, some people have this very loud breathing, which is sometimes distracting. But I guess, you know, they can't help it, or it's just there. I don't know. As long as whatever breathing you're doing is genuine with what you're playing, I think it's fine. If it's getting in the way you're playing, I think that's, you should do something about it. But I think it's nice when you can sense it, not just when you're playing it, but also when you're listening to someone, when you like see them prepare and take that breath to start that phrase. It comes way before you actually start playing the notes. So yeah. Advice for Dance of the Elves. Keep your wrist light. Keep your wrist, don't have any tension on your wrist. I know that's easier said than done, but it's basically what you have to do if you want to have this kind of effortless spiccato. If you tense up your wrist too much, then that's just not going to work. Because basically how I think of it is that you just kind of shake your hand. You're not even like, for me, they're not even real bow strokes. It's kind of like more like a shaking motion of your hands. So if you can see the, so my wrist is completely free. I'm saving up a lot of energy, which you need to get through this whole piece. So yeah, I would really strongly suggest that you just keep your wrist light. I think that's the most important thing. And also don't have your elbow too low or too high. I think there's like for me there's like a sweet spot for spiccato. It's like kind of in the middle. When I get tired while playing the piece, because you're bound to get tired playing it, I think you resort to kind of like lowering your elbow, and then you just kind of shake the hand. But that's more like a hack. That's not really anything to do with how you should play the piece. That's just something I do to save up energy when I'm too tired. So yeah. What cellists have influenced you the most? Also, what is the most underrated and overrated cellist respectively? Okay, so the cellists that have influenced me are a ton of them. I think every one of them, well, of the ones I guess we know, they have their own kind of strengths and repertoire that they're probably better at than some others, and those others are better than these others. Okay, you know what I mean. I'm confusing myself. What I'm saying is that there's a cellist for everything. If I have to name any names of people that have influenced my playing, I would, say Janos Starker. I would say Peter Wispelwey. I would say Yo-Yo Ma, Truls Mork, Shafran. Even though I don't, he's a very hot topic, but I've definitely learned a ton of things by watching him play, and I love how he plays. Certain things that he plays are just like, when he plays it is like the best. So same with all these other cellists that I named before. They all have their repertoire that they're known for and that they're really good at. So I like to kind of pick and choose, for things I enjoy. And underrated and overrated, I'm not gonna get into that because all of us are different, you know. Whether you're upcoming or you already have a well-established career, you will appeal to some people, you will not appeal to some people. You will be, you know, it's just the way it is, because music is completely subjective. So, you know, there's not a single cellist that I know that everyone loves when he or she plays everything. So, you know, if you're a cellist and you want to be like at the top and you want to be everyone's favorite, I think that's kind of impossible. And you just have to accept the fact that you will appeal to some and you will not appeal to others. And you just have to, I think the most important thing is that you're true to yourself, and that whatever you put out, whether recordings or whenever you're playing a recital or whatever, that you're being honest and that you're making music your own way. And yeah, the audience that you will build from that actually will be even better, because the people that will stick with you are real people that like they will really love what you're doing, and not just because you have some big name or you're in like a big label or you have a big manager and therefore you're like everywhere. But you know, so I think it's just important to be honest with yourself and play like that every time you go on stage, and you will build a great audience for sure. Okay, sorry guys, I'm missing some comments. Hi Santiago, in your other project with what I thought was a rock metal band, it sounded great, good job. I'm right in thinking that you like it, what your favorite metal bands. Thank you for checking that out. It's a nice project. It's a nice outlet for me to also do something that I love, which is playing the guitar, even though I'll stick to being a cellist because I'm not nearly as confident with the guitar. But anyway, it's nice to, you know, when you have free time and you have some creative drive to, you know, try on writing your own music, and if it's something that you end up loving, or like you're like, yeah, like I feel like this is, you know, I want people to listen to this, then it's great, you know. And it doesn't matter if you get like 100 plays or 1,000,000 plays. It's just nice that you do it if you want to do it. So that's why my friend and I kind of started that project, and it's a lot of fun, and it's actually a really nice kind of break from, you know, when this is like too much, when you need like a breather. So yeah, thank you for checking that out. One of my favorite metal bands, I don't know, there's so many bands that I listen to. I would say right now I am listening to a lot of Humanity's Last Breath and Viljarda, if that's how you say it, I don't know. Which is funny because I think both bands have like a few of the same members, so I don't know. That's what I'm listening to right now, that's what I like right now, but you know, it goes by periods, so yeah. Algunos ejercicios para tener velocidad. Los ejercicios de Cosman son muy buenos para la velocidad. Esos son los que yo hice. ¿Qué consejo general les darías a los estudiantes de Chile en Latinoamérica que consideran hacer esculturas en general? Bueno, ese es un tema muy, muy difícil porque obviamente bueno, no voy a hablar por toda Latinoamérica porque no sé cuál es el sistema en toda Latinoamérica. No quiero generalizar nada. Pero, por ejemplo, cuando yo estaba estudiando acá en Colombia, yo tenía un profesor muy bueno y se fue y no, pues no sabía con quién continuar. Y también pues era una opción obviamente viajar, pero era pues obviamente difícil, porque el profesor que encontré con el que quería estudiar estaba en Nueva Zelanda. Entonces, imagínate un viaje de Bogotá a Auckland, un viaje de 20 horas más o menos, creo que más, y bueno, también muy caro todo, bueno, y vivir allá. Entonces yo creo que el consejo es siempre estar como, tener una meta, y cuando uno la tenga, pues ir por ella, a como de lugar. Por ejemplo, cuando yo quise, bueno, cuando fui a Nueva Zelanda, cuando yo quise ir allá a estudiar, pues realmente el encontrar una beca en un país como, bueno, Colombia, en esa época, no sé ahorita cómo funciona eso, pero en esa época era muy difícil, y fueron muchas puertas que se tocaron, muchas, hasta que al fin algo salió. Y pues sí, uno tiene que seguir tratando, porque si, pues si es lo que uno quiere hacer, uno no se quiere echar para atrás solo porque no preguntó, o solo porque no hizo la vuelta que tenía que hacer, hablar con la persona que había que hablar. Entonces pues yo diría que la motivación es lo que es más importante, como en todo esto, teniendo en cuenta las condiciones, ¿no? Y bueno, eso es básicamente lo mejor que puedo decir. Si hay ayuda de gobierno y todo eso, pues muy chévere, pero generalmente no la hay para este tipo de cosas, y a uno le toca solo, y pues uno tiene que empezar a buscar, porque si es lo que a uno le gusta, pues uno no se va a echar para atrás, como dije antes. Entonces diría que es eso, es tener motivación como por encima de todo. Ese es mi consejo. Alright, so Cello Bello says we're done. So we're done, guys. Thank you very much for watching, for sticking with me and all my rambling on all these things. And yeah, stay safe. And it's been a pleasure. Thank you, Cello Bello, for having me, and hope to see you all again. Bye bye.